speaking of wrestling matches and evolution, well, this is just going to do your little heart good. Richard Dawkins, for some reason, thought it might be a very good idea to walk into Concerned Women for America and have a little debate with Wendy Wright. You've probably seen her on TV. She does a very nice job, Wendy Wright, Concerned Women for America. Well, Richard Dawkins walked into her office, and they filmed the whole thing. We'll be showing it, by the way, on Wretched TV, just in case you get to watch that. But this is, honestly, Richard Dawkins committed a number of logical fallacies, and I don't mind telling you, Wendy Wright did a super fine job of presenting her side.
What a person believes about how human beings were created shapes what they believe about human beings. That if we believe that human beings were created out of love, that is, by a loving creator, and has given each one of us not only a material body, but a spirit and a soul, we that are more likely to treat other people with respect and dignity.
Yes, but you have to contend with facts, don't you? And, I mean, if evolution is a scientific fact...
First of all, it's not. Do I really need to go through... All right, where's the what's the latest evolution stuff? Where they've now changed their mind.
What, you didn't like the gay caveman?
No, the gay caveman, there would
That's
be
not
one.
Enough?
Now there's... Now maybe not so fast, even though it already got put into some journal. Darwin's theory... Darwin's notion that only the fittest survive has been called into question by new research published March 27, 2011 in Nature. You know, all those facts that keep changing, all those facts that we can't scientifically reproduce. Why? Because it's all interpretation. There isn't a fact in the lot.
You might as well be concerned about gravity or the Milky Way, mightn't you?
Well, here's the difference, though, Richard. I can test gravity, okay? Can't test your little wacky Darwinian evolution idea. And you can repeat the mantra and repeat the lie over and over again that it's fact, but it is merely an idea. It is not even a hypothesis. It has not risen to that standard yet. Hey, Tony, I'm wearing a purple shirt, and that's a fact. It's a fact.
It's a white shirt.
It's a purple shirt. It's a fact. What?
It's a white shirt. I can see
You
that.
don't understand. How long have you been studying shirts? It's a purple shirt, and that's a fact. I'm just telling you, it's a fact.
Well, there's been an effort within the scientific community to censor out information against evolution that proves that evolution may not be as many scientists believe. There have been many times in which evidence that was brought forward to bolster the idea of evolution turned out to be fraudulent.
What's an example of that?
So what we argue for is to teach the controversy. Don't censor out the facts that go against evolution, such as the famous pig's tooth, the tooth that was claimed to be an example of a prehistoric man and turned out to just be the tooth of a pig. There are numerous examples like that. So teach the controversy rather than try and censor out the information that...
You know what gets me to it? She's doing a great job. By the way, did you notice how she just kind of blew by his little interruption so she could finish her thought? Well done. That's good debate strategy. They're doing the very thing that they used to whine about. Hey, you're censoring us. Hey, you don't let us talk about our ideas. And what do you know? We want to talk about some ideas. No.
Shows that evolution is questionable.
Seriously, there isn't a controversy. There may be a controversy within evolution about certain details, but the fact of evolution is uncontroversial. I mean, whether you like it or not. Wait.
If there's a debate, then there's controversy. Sorry, Richard.
Cousins of chimpanzees, we're slightly more distant cousins of monkeys, etc. I mean, pig's teeth are really irrelevant. Of course you can dig up mistakes and...
Well, okay, no pun intended, I'm sure, Richard. So what do you do with those mistakes? Well, we just pretend those don't exist. We're just going to march on because it's a fact.
And even outright fraud. I mean, the Piltdown hoax was an outright fraud. But that was never used as evidence for evolution. It was just a particular case of somebody in the 1920s who fraudulently
used it for evolution.
There's no evidence of evolution from one species to another. There's microevolution within a species, but not going from one species to another.
Oh, really?
And actually, you're the way you have framed this and your very closed-mindedness really is a very good example of the kind of censorship we see within the scientific community that won't even allow discussion about the controversy, that says that we can't even discuss any evidence that might show that evolution is questionable.
Well done. Wendy Wright, Concerned Women for America. Now, this could be, maybe, hard to choose. One of my favorite parts of the interview, Richard Dawkins, feeling himself up against the ropes. Now, what's a man to do with a woman who seems to be outboxing him? That's right. You call on the logical fallacy. Appeal to education.
Where did you study science?
Well, see, that's the point.
Well, I've studied it for 22 years. Therefore, I'm right. Now, what if Wendy had been able to say, well, I'm glad you asked. I've studied it for 23 years. She's right? No. That's not how you debate, Richard. But then again, you're not really debating, are you?
Scientists are now claiming that they're the only ones that can speak on this issue. And yet when people who look at the evidence go to the Smithsonian Museum on Natural History, and when we look for where's the evidence to show evolution from one species to another, all we find are drawings, illustrations. There aren't the actual material evidence showing it. So while there are attempts to say that only scientists can speak on this, what we have are scientists that are then creating an isolated community and saying that we're the ones, it's almost like a religion in which only scientists are allowed to speak and teach on it, and to teach everyone else. Everyone else must believe what particular scientists say. But the scientists who question evolution are being censored out, or being blackballed out of the scientific community, and being told that the rest of the world cannot listen to them.
It not only these nature journals, the scientific journals. Do you know why you never see any creation arguments? It's a little thing called an editor, and they just don't let them in. So no matter how good the evidence is, they simply don't allow for a competing voice.
Yeah. The evidence is actually rather substantial. It's not just fossils, you know. I mean, it's DNA. Presumably you're not concerned about DNA.
So apparently he just gave up on the fossil. Now he moves on to DNA, this old canard.
Accept the existence of DNA. Do you?
I think DNA helps to prove that each person is an individual created and as distinct from one another.
If you look at the DNA of all animals and all plants, what you find is a beautifully arranged hierarchy. You find that our DNA is close to chimpanzees.
Okay, first of all, millions of differences in the code. Okay, second of all, they're monkeys. Third of all, have you been to a zoo? Third of all, because we've got a similar amount, 90-some% of the same DNA. Okay, clouds and watermelons have just about the same DNA. Okay, nobody's confusing the two. Okay, it's enough of a difference to make something completely different. Furthermore, it simply depends on how you interpret the information. I happen to have, sorry for this, I'm almost done with this little case, a Diet Coke in front of me, okay? Now, let's say, in my other hand, I had a Coke Zero. I look at the two and I say, very, in fact, 98% similar. A lot of the letters are the same. A lot of the nutritional or lack thereof information on the side of the can, very similar. How I'm supposed to recycle, very similar. 12 fluid ounces, very similar. In fact, the inside, you can taste a little bit of a difference, but very, very similar. Both of them will burn a hole right in your guts. Therefore, they evolved from the same goo. Well, or they were all made by the same factory, the same designer. It just depends on how you choose to interpret the information.
Slightly more distant from monkeys, slightly more distant still from rats, slightly more distant still from lizards. The whole thing falls into a beautiful hierarchical pattern. Just like a family tree, it is a family tree.
How's about just one family designer?
How would you explain that?
And where is the evidence?
Well, the evidence is in the DNA.
Excuse me. Where is the evidence of evolution from one species to another species, the macroevolution?
Well, it's in the DNA. It's in the DNA. It's in the geographical distribution
What you're
of
talking
species.
about are commonalities. But again, where's the material evidence of evolution from one species to another species?
Well, we obviously have a different conception of what evidence is. Scientists accept that as evidence.
Yeah, that's right. Their interpretation thereof. That would be just about the same as the way David Barton was using Scripture, kind of making it what you want it to be. I could be wrong, but what's the big WWEF, whatever it is, the big wrestling match that's coming up? Is it with The Rock?
Yeah.
The Rock's going to take on...
somebody else. Superman?
How old is The Rock anyway? Shouldn't he be making some movie where he's acting like, he's the babysitter or something? Isn't that kind of his thing? Shouldn't he be doing that?
I think he was a Tooth Fairy, his last movie out.
What was it called?
Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy.
He was, yeah.
Joey just told me he's 38 years old. Well, that could still be wrestling. Nick Bockwinkel went till he was about 60. Maybe it wasn't the best idea, but he's going to be wrestling who's he going to be? Oh, I just saw it on TV flipping by the other night. Yeah, I stopped for a second.
John somebody.
John Cena. Okay. Here's the difference between what we just heard.
I worry about you.
John Cena and The Rock, it'll all be orchestrated, it'll all be prearranged, and whoever's going to win is the one who's determined to win. Unlike what we just heard, Wendy Wright from Concerned Women from America and Richard Dawkins, that was a smackdown. Excuse me. Shh, I'm talking. That was very nice. Once again, you know what we hear? Evolutionists don't have an argument to bring to that was the best you've heard right there. That's the man. That's Richard Dawkins. He's the best. Huh? Are you overwhelmed? My atheist friend? Are you going to sleep tight tonight knowing that Richard Dawkins has got it all figured out for you? Huh? I'd be having nightmares, frankly. This is Wretched Radio.